Congrats, you made it. We are in our series of point 4, and I have a little riddle for you. So hang on tight. Put your thinking hats on. Here we go. 18.5 plus 18.5, or 19 plus 18, or 12.3 times 3. What do they all have in common? I know this is a little off the beaten path. If you guess the number 37, you get a prize. And why is that important? Congrats. There's 37 days until the new year. Can you believe this? Hear me, warriors. Are we going to be warriors? Or are we going to be warriors? My name is Bren Harris. I'm so glad you're here. I know we're streaming across multiple platforms. Hey, Georgia in the house, New York in the house, Florida in the house. I'm so glad you guys are here. If you threw a dart at the middle of the United States, that's right where I am, in Oklahoma, just like the musical. My name is Bren Harris. I founded Warrior Moms by Bren when my son was medically injured at 22 months of age. We have walked through hell. Now we walk through it like we own the place, and you can too. Please let our pain be your gain. Special needs children in the holidays require special, specific planning. Now, I have a couple of fun things to show you tonight, and we are doing this series. This is part 4. Please check out the other episodes. We're talking about boundaries, rules, and regulations, about intentional planning and intentional fun, and self-care. We're setting those boundaries, and that's our word for tonight. If you are listening to this on the audio, thank you so much for being here. You can go to YouTube and look up ASL sign. We use American Sign Language. That's how my son learns new words. And we're going to put our pinkies together right in front of our shoulders and move them forward, just like this. Boundaries. And boundaries are important because they show us where we and another person begins emotionally, especially during the holidays. Now, I know that if you are a wonderful parent of neurotypical children, this may not relate to you. You neither need to feel like a warrior or be a special needs parent to apply these principles, because during this holiday season, our number one mission is to go from striving to thriving. And we are using awareness, acceptance, and action to map out our path so that we don't need downtime or a vacation to recover from the holidays. And why is that? Well, special needs children, over 13% end up in the ER during the holiday season. And why is that? We lose our sense of routine. Daily routine is so important because that familiarity brings comfort and brings down stress. We also need to remember that when emotions go up, IQ plummets, and that it obliterates our ability to respond rather than react. We're eating outside our comfort zone. We're overindulging. We're having things that we don't usually have, whether that's the occasional celebratory drink, the extra sweets, the wonderful holiday foods, how everyone tries something new for the holidays. And that takes a toll because the body keeps score. And with special needs children, it's very important to understand specific nutrition, specific rest, specific routine. And I don't know about you, but I have a few people in my life that really get this. Unfortunately, the people closest to me, not necessarily. We've been at this over 10 years, and that education is what we're here to educate and equip, not litigate and rip. So hear me. We want to step out of our comfort zone and say, hey, I love this. This is a great plan. I'm so glad you're planning for 35 people at your house and you want us to fly across country to be there. For my mental health and sanity and for my child's well-being, that probably won't work for us, but we would love to plan another time in the year when it's just us and we can come see you on a consistent schedule. And that's okay, because people who care about us and people who want the best for our children who might be, for like us, diagnosed on the autism spectrum, nonverbal, might have chemical sensitivities, might have sensory processing challenges. One of my biggest regrets all those years ago, before we had a diagnosis, was listening to the old timers at family reunions tell me how, well, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Such garbage when it comes to children with a diagnosis and under that autism spectrum umbrella. And that goes for children with special needs. If you've met one family with a special needs child, you've met one family. It isn't cookie cutter. It isn't, hear me, warriors, it is not okay for people to say that kind of garbage. They might mean well, but they have not walked in your shoes. And one of my favorite people in the world, and how she steps out and talks about shame and how we are here to be in the arena, being the advocate and being the voice for the voiceless. And that is Brene Brown. It just cracks me up. And if you've never heard her first TED Talk, it's worth it to go back and hear her talk about it, because she thought there might be a few hundred people and there were a few million watching that talk. And here's one of my favorite quotes here. She says, "A good life happens when you stop and are grateful for the ordinary moments that so many of us just steamroll over to try to find those extraordinary moments." That's the holidays. Our culture says, chase the euphoria of the holidays, buy a new car, put a ribbon on it, put it on social, and then you're stuck with all the payments. Or spend all this money you don't have to impress family members and friends you don't necessarily care about, so that you can be the cool relative at Christmas. No, this is garbage. It's manufactured. Hear me, manufactured. So we have talked about elevate, lift up, rise higher, boost. I do use American Sign Language. Please go to YouTube and look up these signs, because I have experienced in the last 10 plus years of this journey of being a voice for the voiceless, specifically for my son diagnosed on the autism spectrum level 3, nonverbal and sensory processing disorder. When they get overload, all bets are off. You cannot discipline an overwhelmed sensory child into corrective behavior. Hear me. And if anybody tells you different, I'm going to have a sign for you. And this is one of my favorite Brene Brown quotes. Don't try to win over the haters or the misunderstood. You are not a jackass whisperer. So when that happens, you can always, jackass whisperer. And I am so thrilled that we can learn American Sign Language. And if you are ever around me and you see me leaving an event and you see me do this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because we don't care about other people's opinions. And we don't care that they are trying to tell us how to parent a special needs child when they are not around the other 364 days in the year. So hear me. We can have holidays, we can have get-togethers, we can modify those get-togethers so that it is not stressful, and that we can have boundaries so that we are protecting our sanity. There is nowhere does it say you have to forfeit your own comfort and your own idea of a quiet, intentional holiday. You can go have fun, then have downtime, because children who are diagnosed with special needs, that's the last thing they need is disruption in routine or a bunch of junk food that dysregulates them and puts them into a sensory meltdown. They are not being brats. They are not, hear me, they are not being brats. They are not being difficult. They're not being spoiled. They're overwhelmed, much like a lot of adults we see. Why do you think road rage is off the charts? We used to never hear about this years ago. And it happens everywhere because people are burned out and overwhelmed. Now, another quote from Brene Brown is, "Nothing has transformed my life more than realizing that it's a waste of time to evaluate my own worthiness by weighing the reaction of the people in the stands. Now, just a little history here. She takes Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena, and we change it to Woman in the Arena. If you are not in the arena of parenting a special needs child day in and day out, 24 freaking 7, and you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked every single day of the year, don't you dare try to put your opinions on how I need to parent my child at the holidays. I say this with love. Hear me. We can have boundaries and we can say this with love and respect, but we've got to draw a line in the sand and stop trying to please the people who are not in the arena getting their ass kicked every day. Now, some days are wonderful. I mentioned this on the previous episode. Please go check this out. We had an amazing Saturday. I worked on Friday. We bumped our Fun Friday to Saturday, and we got to explore downtown. We have a river walk. We took the river boat. We visited our favorite restaurants that have amazing gluten-free food. Now we splurged a little, but we didn't go crazy. Our hard line in the sand is no gluten, no artificial colors when we're out, having fun. And, we feel better when our fuel is better. And just like that emotional quotient in the IQ, when our emotions go high, our IQ plummets and we don't make wise decisions. We had a blast on Saturday and we were able to enjoy it. And then we learned a bunch of signs because the tour boat was doing a little bit of a history of our city. And so we looked up the word watermelon. We looked up the word land run. We looked up all these cool things because when I lived here back in the day, my first job out of college, this area of town was like the ghetto. Now they've made it this beautiful river walk. And for me, that's really important to take my son and say, hey, this is what beauty looks like. Because one of my favorite scriptures is the Lord will give you beauty for ashes. And when we say, oh, wow, we're going to get beauty for ashes, we need to give the ashes over to exchange them for beauty. One of my amazing mentors always said, principles above personalities. That reads easy, that lives hard. Now, we don't have to have a family feud for the holidays. We can just say, oh, I really appreciate the invite. We will visit you when we have time to visit just with you. Guys, this is okay. We're hear me, warriors. We're going to stop shooting on ourselves. And remember, we're having boundaries and we're going to elevate, lift up, rise higher, boost. I'm talking so much about mental health and setting our boundaries because it starts with us, parents. It starts with us. And I don't always get this right. I don't have all the answers. But please let my pain be your gain based on the last 10 years since my son actually received a diagnosis. It's important to understand we can enjoy the holidays, but we don't have to be on everyone else's timetable. And there are things that I put up with a decade ago that I wouldn't tolerate for 30 seconds now. And I stayed the whole week of the holidays. I would never allow anyone to talk about my son in his presence like he's not there. And I would never let anyone tell me how to discipline him when they haven't walked in our shoes and haven't partaken of the therapies that we have been educated with. And it's really okay. It's really okay to agree to disagree, and it's really okay to honor family but not forfeit what's best for our children. I'm not going to change that for anybody. And it has not made me the most popular person at the holidays. And that's okay because I can say things respectfully and with love, and I can also say them with firmness. Remember, we are not the jackass whisperer. We are here to be a voice for the voiceless and an advocate. I don't know if you guys remember Ross on Friends always had that sign. for the bird. And so that's the sign for advocate. We are a voice for the voiceless. And my mission is to set up my special needs child for a successful holiday. Now, I will carve out time for grown up time. I will carve out time for me to, have a Christmas beverage or something. I will not forfeit his mental health and my sanity to please others. Okay, I hope this has helped you. Please check out the other episodes because I know that if you are not affected by parenting a special needs child, you know someone who is. Remember, be authentic, legendary, and unapologetically you. Warriors, unite.